All right, class, we got another example here of a descriptive essay by Eudora Welty. It's called The Conerstore, and it's a little dated. This is probably one of the oldest things that we'll ever read because it takes place, like in the 1920s. And Eudora Welty died in 2001, but it's such an excellent example of a descriptive essay for you to look at because it is something that's personal. She is describing something from her childhood, but I want you to notice how little she uses I, because the focus is not on her, the focus is on what she's describing, the corner store. So one thing that you need to think about when you do your descriptive essay is the way that this essay starts. There's not a lot of wasted time getting to the thing that's being described, and a lot of students, when they're describing a place, especially out of the country, they want to describe the whole process of getting there through the whole airport and all that stuff. That's not a descriptive essay. That's a narrative essay. This essay starts off right at the thing she's describing on the outside and then moves inward. And the point of this essay is about how corner stores used to be part of the fabric of an American community. And especially one of the characters that comes in, and you can describe a place by describing the people there. The character that comes in at the end really shows you that this is about how place and people and culture are connected through community. So if you'll notice, we don't waste any time. It starts right off at the bat on the little store and the description of what it sounds like outside. Outside. Notice that every detail is important. It's going to come into play later, like the fact that it's on a street of family houses, how that kind of plays into community. All that's important. Okay. There is no thesis here because it's more of a creative piece. You'll need a thesis, but this thesis comes kind of at the end. All right. If you'll notice right off the bat, we move inside, and she starts describing what things smell like as soon as the door opens and that change of air hits. She describes these things, based on smell. And by her describing the smell, we get the visual images that they're associated with as well. Now, I know that some of you guys, aren't familiar with, back in the day when you had to buy ice in blocks and refrigerators weren't electric, you put an ice block in them. They were often stored, in the ground or something. But that's what we're talking about here. And there's a few things you might not recognize here and there. I'll explain them as we go along. But look at this entire paragraph. I mean, it's nothing but smell, right? Very strong, a lot of details, good diction, real details from her reality. And that's what makes something believable and strong. Now we get into visual things. The first time I ever saw motes, I had to look them up. That's little things that you see floating in the air on a beam of light, when you can see them in a beam of light. And that could be anything, any kind of dust or hair or anything, So we're getting kind of a visual visual imagery of all the different things in the, in the shop. And notice we have the same list device that's used in the James Joyce essay. She does kind of break our rules for descriptive essay and uses I and you a little bit, but she doesn't do it very often. Okay, so just look at all the rich details. Look at how packed they are into the paragraph. Okay. All right, again, all those wonderful type of toys and things they used to sell back in the day. At this time, they probably don't have this anymore, that much, many of these things, but you get the idea. You get the idea of how this list is relevant. Now, Mr. Sessions come in, and, a person is a character. It's also a way of describing a place if you have a person. And Mr. Sessions as a character is central to this descriptive essay, this little short story, because he's part of the thesis. He's part of the idea that it's this place that makes meaning, that adds value to the community. And especially the interactions you'll see with him at the end really do that. But again, we have more description, more visual imagery. Some of the stuff you haven't heard of, some of it you had. Okay. So these specific details, like Mr. Sessions, like magic, getting the kind of drink that you want on your first shot, the first dip into there, that's very important. And these details also about how he seems to know every single child by name, knows how they've gotten taller or gained weight as they've grown since the last time he's seen them. And that he takes the time to do this is where the thesis comes in, kind of in the conclusion. And it's the idea that this person makes memory, makes this valuable, and that's what ties all this together as part of the community. So this is a good little essay, descriptive essay. I thought you might enjoy it. And it's a good example of how you should write your essay.